It is. How are you?
Awesome. Hello, it's Monica. All right, good. We've got audio. We're going to wait another 4 or so minutes. We've got people chiming in here, so I'm going to go back on mute for a minute.
Take your time.
All right, thanks. Hi all, this is Monica. I am the host of today's Mastery session. It's almost 3 o'clock, so we're going to just hang on here a little bit longer if it's okay with everybody. We'll get started about 3:02, just to let some of the stragglers join in, okay? If you want to, look on the left of the screen and you can depress the chat tab, and that will enable you to ask questions throughout the session as well. So thank you for another couple minutes patience, and we'll get started soon. Thanks.
Come on. No.
Oh, Jim, is that you making some of that sound?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yelling at my dog.
Oh my gosh. Well, have him join us. That's okay. I just wanted you to know we were hearing all of that.
Gotcha.
All right, give us another minute or two. All right. Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are enjoying your Wednesday. 3 o'clock here Eastern Standard Time, wherever you are. Might be lunchtime. My name is Monica Weekly. I am the host of today's Espresso Mastery session. This is the second of 4, coming to you from the great folks at Espresso Agent. A couple things before I introduce our guest, a couple housekeeping things. I do have everyone on mute so that we don't have a lot of background noise like Jim was giving us there. I'm just kidding, Jim. And if you'd like to ask a question, though, we welcome that. I mean, that's definitely a part of this event is your questions and making sure we get those answered and taking advantage of Jim being on the phone and all that we have to learn from him today. So if you look to the left of your landing page there, you'll see a chat button. Go ahead and depress that, and you can type in the little box at the bottom. And we have some great people here at Espresso monitoring your questions, and we'll try to get to everything towards the end of the event. Okay. Let's see. Let me go ahead and introduce Jim Chamberlain, who is with Keller Williams, living right now in Marco Island, but is from Vermont, or I should say on Marco Island, right, Jim?
True.
That's probably
true.
Right. Yes. All right. Jim, how long have you been in the business?
16, 17 years.
Awesome. And tell us how long you've been making expired calls.
Yeah, I would say pretty, I originally got started with a coach, a Mike Ferry coach way back when, so probably been making these calls since like 14 years probably, since like the second year in the business.
Oh my gosh. Some of us have trouble making them 5 days in a row, so that seems like a very long time. Good for you. And we're going to talk a lot about that. How do you keep up that tenacity and how do you keep up that focus? So, before I kind of let you take over a little bit here too, tell us about your goals when you do sit down to make expired calls or FSBO calls. Do you have a set number of appointments you're trying to set each day or each week or each month? How do you do set your goals?
Yeah, well, I think the goals are basically set. Going forward, what my goals would be for the next year. Let's say money goals, right? So if you wanted to make, $100,000, just reverse engineer those goals. If you're going to get 60% listings, it's a very simple math problem to figure out how many listings you need, and then you know exactly how many appointments you need to go on, and that's really what the focus is on right there.
All right, that makes sense. But if you are sitting down to dial for a day, do you dial until you hit your goal, or you just set a number of hours each day and you're going to stop no matter what you get that day?
Yeah, so all the goals that I just spoke about would be, I would reverse engineer them so that I knew how many contacts I needed to make today and every single day that I'm going to work to know how many appointments I'm going to hit. So, for instance, when I was doing this in a market where there was 14, 15-month supply of homes, most of the time over a 12-month supply, I needed a lot of listings in order to hit my goals. So, therefore, at the time, I remember that my contact goal was I needed to make 42 contacts for the days that I was going to work.
Got it. Okay. So you just are letting the ratios sort of take over depending on a little bit on the market, but also how many people you need to talk to each day to set an appointment.
Right, because if I just say I'm going to prospect an hour or 2 or 3, it's not attached to anything. So therefore, there's no target. And if you don't have a target, you sometimes will, and if you're not hitting your financial goals, that's probably the reason, is just that you don't have that target. So I'm just aiming for that target every single day, and I know that if I make 42 dials, in that example, if I needed to make 42 dials, like that year, my goal is to make 300,000. So we reverse engineered that. I made 42 contacts, not dials, 42 contacts, and I monitored my results, making sure that they weren't drastically changing, that my goals would be hit.
Awesome.
And I'm not getting off the phone. I wouldn't get off the phone I wouldn't get off the phone or stop until I made those 42 contacts, whether it took me 2 hours or 5 hours.
Okay, and let's just define contacts. You're not talking about a voicemail or an email, correct?
No, a contact is a live adult speaking person, because this way, that's the same for everybody, and we could compare. Like if you're going to mastermind or figure out what's broken, what do you need to improve on in order to hit your goals, one of the very first things we're going to look at is what are your numbers? And a contact, can be, some people start saying a good contact and all that. So basically just a live adult speaking person. So if you call Pizza Hut, that's a contact.
Got it. Awesome. That sounds very good right now. All right, cool. And before we get started into the meat and potatoes, what's the best way for someone to reach you for a referral down in southern Florida?
Yeah, they can. You can certainly just call or text my cell phone. My direct number is 239-860-6005. You can get me on Facebook, either way.
Awesome. That's perfect. And we'll also talk a little bit about your 6-day training program that you have that you offer to agents that just want to get set out on the right path, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit at the end. Okay, so we have this tool, this Espresso tool, and that's exactly what it is. It isn't a silver bullet, Jim, as you perfectly meant or called it earlier today. It's not a silver bullet. It's just a tool in your toolkit. And how you use it will determine your success. It's just the same as if, so the analogy I have is, if I went out and bought one of those very expensive KitchenAid Professional Series stand mixers, and then a chef bought that as well, and I don't cook. So I've got this, Empire Red, beautiful KitchenAid Professional Series stand mixer, and I don't know how to use it. I'm not going to be able to produce the same end result as the chef that has cooked every day for the last 20 years, right? So it's how do we use this tool to get the results. Would you agree with that kind of intro there, Jim?
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's the skill set number one, and then you have the tool, which honestly, this is just absolutely amazing. And I'm not sure, people are newer to the business that, you don't have to go back too many years ago and to find out that this technology didn't exist. Meaning, phone dials are relatively new to the market. I remember when I got a phone dial, nobody knew what it was, and there's actually a piece of hardware that I had to install into my computer. But you still didn't have a way of getting phone numbers. So this is just absolutely amazing when you look at the opportunity. It really is.
It is. So how do you fit this tool into your routine?
Yeah, basically it just shortens, it probably saves, probably 3 hours a day just using this versus, if you didn't have it, meaning you got to look up the numbers yourself and manually dial. So, the tool is just a way for me to get the correct people, right? Because I don't care how good your skill set is, if you can't reach somebody, you're not going to set the appointment. So there's just a lot of opportunities, and I see that as the number one opportunity is that, if you have 10 people that want to get a listing, and 2 of the 10 have the phone numbers, and the other 8 are really, really good really good prospectors and have really good skills, those 2 people that have the information are going to win. I mean, that's just absolutely amazing when you start to look at, what's, don't go really wide, and, I'd rather just go deep on the opportunity and look at really what's in front of us here. It's just absolutely amazing that what you can accomplish with this tool. I mean, just basically set it up and let it rip.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's talk just for a second before we get into kind of role-playing and what you say. Talk to me about the number one thing that's kind of in the back of your mind when you're calling and using this tool. What's the mindset or the framework that you're operating within?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, it's sticking to this, coming off a good role play. Coming off a good role play is critical, and coming off a good role play and boom, jump right into the call. So I think the biggest, I would say, struggle I find and see with myself and other people just go on Facebook, you see all the issues, and the nice thing about it is all these issues can be, taught or learned. That's the great thing. So I would say, making the calls. Making the calls is probably the biggest number one thing. I mean, even if you mess it up, I mean, really, the person who's going to stay diligent and persistent is going to win the game.
Diligent and persistent. And certainly we all have those two things. It's a matter of if we tap into them on a daily basis, right? I mean, there's no secret sauce there.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about this is that when you think about this, there's a lot of things that don't require any talent whatsoever. You know, seriously. Mm-hmm. So if you don't even look at, you know, let's say, well, I'm scared to be on the script. I don't know what to say. All those things. Let's forget about, let's say you have zero talent, none, right? So there's a few things that you're gonna win the game of this listing game by doing a few things. Number one, show up. You know what I mean? What I mean by that, start at 8 o'clock. Don't start at 9. If you started at 8 o'clock consistently for every single day that you work, I guarantee you'll get 4 or 5 listings a month. I guarantee it. It has to happen. Because there's people that are doing this at a high level, right? You guys have access to this. You can see how many times people dial in at 8 o'clock. So just do that, you know. Just do that and give it some effort, right? Give it some real good, strong effort, you know, and that's easy. Stand up, right? Have some good food. Role play previous to that. Again, this is all free and requires none, zero talent, seriously.
I love that. So you say role play. Do you have a role play partner still after 14 years of doing this?
Yeah.
Really?
I mean, and
What's that look like?
happened? Yeah. So the role play partners honestly kind of turned into where, you know, when I was setting when I set appointments at a higher level, you know, you start getting people that want to role play, and then all of a sudden people say, hey, listen, why don't I pay you? You know, I'd rather just have you pay me. So I'm like, you're going to actually pay me to help you? I couldn't believe it. And sure enough, people like say, yeah, I want to do it. So I'm like, okay. So I started charging people to do it. And then, so that becomes my role play now, is people think I'm doing this to coach and make money. No, it's my role play. So I have to really be at a high level for myself to do that. So it's the perfect role play, you know? So that's how I role play every day.
I love that. However, you don't have to be in that mode either, right? I mean, you just find somebody in or out of your market. If you meet them at Mega Camp or some event somewhere, find somebody that's trying to do the same thing you're doing.
Tons of role play partners. You've got to get someone to role play partner with, because here's the thing: you can bounce ideas off of people to where, you know, you get on the phone. And the other thing is, more importantly than the practice with the role play, it's the accountability level that you have. You know, I role played and was accountable with a guy from Pennsylvania for 5-6 years, every single day except one day. Every single day. I mean, every day except one day. I went to a father-daughter day unscheduled event that I missed. We role played at 7:30 in the morning and got on the phones and held each other accountable. And you know what? And then just read the script to these leads. And, you know, just doing that and having some energy that I spoke about, you know, having good food, stand up, you're going to get energy doing that, and show up on time, right? Show up on time, get a headset so you can use your hands, right? Again, none of this stuff costs any money. It doesn't require talent. And I would consistently set 18 to 22 appointments a month, consistently, in a tiny, tiny little market. So I know that I'm not that superstar that, you know, that I see on YouTube and on Facebook, you know, and so I know that really, seriously, anybody can develop this skill set. That's a nice thing. It can be taught.
That's awesome. That's perfect. And I'm sitting here thinking, if I'm sitting on this phone as a participant and I'm hearing all this, I'm thinking, okay, where's the secret sauce? What's going on? This is all pretty basic. But here's the thing. These are the things that people aren't doing every day. And that
look at the
in and of itself is.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the opportunity, right? You look at the opportunity, right? So how many people in your market, right? I challenge this. Can I coach people all the time? And they're like, well, I don't know that I can do it. There's probably so many people calling. I'll jump on the Espresso dialer and say, okay, let's do it, right? And you call it 9 o'clock in the morning. Let's call your leads at 9 o'clock in the morning, and let's start talking to some real live calls. You're going to find that in most markets, I've not found a market where there's 10 people calling in a market consistently every day. It's so easy to find out. Start making calls. Calls. And when you find someone who's somewhat friendly on the phone, they're going to say, well, we're getting a bunch of these calls. They say, well, how many did you really get, Monica? Well, we got like 3 or 4. And it's like the second or third day. This happens all the time. So when you see that, that's a massive, massive opportunity, you know. And Columbia University did I was reading the other day, did a study that the average salesperson, not even talking realtors, the average salesperson works an hour and a half a day. So where's the opportunity? When I just tell you that, what's the opportunity?
Just double it up.
You work 3 hours a day and you doubled your competition.
Right.
Is that crazy?
That is crazy. And if you're afraid of, somebody said once, if you're afraid of competing, from 8 to 10 every morning, and that really is what's keeping you from doing this, try evenings or Saturdays, because you're not going to get any competition then.
Yeah, get
so
over
change
it.
it up.
Yeah, get over it. Yeah, there are a lot of things to change it up. All right. So you have 40 expired. Here's a little tip, right? So let's say it's the first of the month and there's 100 of them in there, right? And you're like, oh my God, people are pounding it, especially like January 1st, right? January 1st, don't go out drinking. Do your drinking on the 2nd. Set the 1st for making a bunch of calls. But seriously, on the first day of the month or the last day of the month, first and last day, you get a bunch. Those 2-3 days. Instead of calling the first one in order, call like the 4th or 5th one, so that you're not getting everyone seconds. You see what I'm saying? So get ahead of the crowd a little bit. It's not gonna tremendously make a big difference, but it'll probably turn into one appointment.
That's an awesome tip. I love it. Okay, so when you're calling expireds, and let's say you're not an agent that's been in the business for 14 years like yourself. Let's say, I'm relatively new. I'm inside of a year or maybe 2 years, or maybe I just haven't done it at a high level for very long, and now I'm serious and I want to do this. And I'm calling these sellers. Help you guys maybe get a mindset around how to have some confidence that, you know what, I am going to be able to help these sellers differently this time. I do have something different to bring to the table, because I think that may stop people from calling too. Like, well, I don't know that I am any better than these guys that just lost the listing.
That's a really good point. First of all, I want to talk about I definitely want to talk about the 14-year thing, because honestly, I just like 2 weeks ago, I coached somebody who's not even a realtor and never made one of these phone calls at all and set 5 appointments in the first week. And I'm telling you, so you don't have to have the experience. We have the desire and the willingness to learn. But to answer your question is, look in the MLS, right? I'm looking at the MLS. I'm down here in Marco, and I saw an expired listing that I was just actually going through. It was a year-old expired. And you know how you can definitely tell it was a cell phone picture, but it was a cell phone picture taken with the phone vertical. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Right.
Yeah. So you see those pictures, you're like, what a knucklehead. You wish you could say something to the seller, right? Here's a picture trying to sell a $1.5 million condo, and oh my word, look at these pictures. So if you don't think you can do better, find a way. Start going to the mixers. Start going to some of the training classes and listen to some of the questions that are being asked, right? I'm not saying that you're doing this to like mock somebody, but you have to have some confidence knowing that, you know what, if somebody else can do it, I can do it, seriously. And if you look at somebody asking questions, like, you know what, I have more talent than them, I can do this. And then it starts to build your confidence, and then it's like people can feel the confidence. I can tell you that.
That's true. Talk to us a little bit about your thought that clients are actually a little naive when it comes to the fact that not all realtors are created equally, and how that plays into that.
Yeah, and that's a big one. I think that's probably one of the biggest things that for me changed, where I'm in going back a few years ago, I'm in a market where, I didn't know anybody. I'm new to the area. I'm a newer realtor. I mean, I've always, I've had like sales experience, but I'm a newer realtor. So, boy, am I lacking some confidence? Probably a little bit. And I'm pretty driven, but I'm still, I'm wondering, well, can this happen? And then you start to hang around other agents, and you start to see some of those things that they're actually doing or not doing, right? Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Well, and also that if it was true that clients understood the difference between agents, it would be very hard as a new agent to get an appointment or to get a listing.
Yeah, exactly.
And we know they do. So.
Yeah. So that's the thing. So when I see, the very best proof that this can be done, I don't care what skill set, that somebody else is already doing it, right? That's the number one thing, right? So when you see, and what's nice about it is most of these sellers all think we're equal, right? We get paid pretty much equal. So when I show up, they think we all do the same thing, right? So therefore, our job now is to show them that we are different. Don't tell them, but to show them, articulate to them that, yes, we are different, because they think we're all the same. And the proof is that you take an agent who's very brand new at this business, they could be incredible talent, but very brand new in the business, and go up and get a listing. So then how did they do that? Think about it. How did they do that? You know?
Right. Sometimes it's just showing up 5 minutes early can be the difference. I got a listing once and the guy literally said, "You were early, everyone else was 5 minutes late. I trust that you take your business seriously. Here you go." Do something different.
Yeah. You brought on something really. This was like one of the biggest light bulbs in the last 10 years for me. Seriously, is that when you start sticking to a question-based script, I mean, really stick to it, verbatim, not so-so. I mean, 100%. When you stick to that script, and for 3 years, I'm going to tell you, my coach, Mike Ferry, fought with me, and I could never do this. I don't know why, but I fought with her on pre-qualifying the listing appointment, okay? Now, I wouldn't even think about getting an appointment without pre-qualifying them, right? Let's just use the Mike Ferry script. Now, what happened was when I started doing that, when I started pre-qualifying them and sticking to the script 100%, I was going on listings, and you know, my listing ratio was through the roof. And I'm not special talent showing up. I mean, you know, I'm driven, and you know, and I ask great questions, and I pay attention. But there's probably people that are better on stage than I am. So, you know, when you see these people, you think they have this God-gifted acting talent. That's not me. So when I showed up, the reason I know I was getting the appointments is because I have a very well pre-qualified appointment that was based on asking questions about them, not telling them I'm the best. I'm with Keller Williams. There's 800 offices, 130,000 agents, none of that stuff. And then that gave me a ton of confidence. Once you start knocking out 10, 15 listings a month and they start selling, guess what happens? You get confidence.
Absolutely. That's perfect.
Yeah. And then it's like, it's a snowball after that.
So we know you're using scripts to get the appointment, but then you're also following a specific script for pre-qual as well. Tell us why, you know, that's better than kind of the I'm winging it attitude or mentality.
Well, you gotta pre-qualify it so that you're not. I mean, there's only so many hours in the day, right? And you know, we don't want to get burnt out. We don't want to go on, you know, we don't want to go on a bunch of appointments that are not pre-qualified, because there's a lot of bad things that's going to happen. Number one is you're not going to get the listing, but that's not really the worst thing. It's going to destroy your confidence. First of all, you're going to start thinking, well, this Espresso's junk. These making calls is no good. My listing presentation is no good. And then it's just like this. It's horrible, right? And it's not that. It's none of that. It's that you shouldn't have gone on that appointment, meaning you've got to ask the pre-qualifying questions. And I'm not saying they have to be motivated, you know, motivated to get their price. They expired for the most part because they're overpriced, okay? So don't be afraid of going on don't be afraid to go on an appointment where the listing is overpriced, because they're all going to be overpriced. That's why they expired for the most part. So by asking that pre-qualified appointment, it's first of all, if you go through, just look at Mike Ferry's, for instance, and you read all those questions, it's giving you all the answers you need. It's giving you all the answers you need to go out and have an awesome listing presentation. It makes it so easy because you know exactly where they're moving, why they're moving, what the agent did, what the agent didn't do, what they expect on the next agent, their time frame. You have all the answers, so it makes it so easy. It's like cheating on a test. It really is. Right.
That's awesome. We had a question come in. Are you leaving a voicemail also with more FSBOs than expireds?
I don't leave voicemails or emails. I don't leave voicemails or emails because then it starts to. And the reason behind it is that I want to be an animal calling these people. And if I leave a voicemail, and I keep calling them, it's like I'm stalking them. You can't do that. Yeah. You got to just keep calling them. I avoid. Never send an email and never left a message.
Perfect. There's a mention in the chat. Well, that's true. There's a mention in the chat that says, I think it's Clint, he makes calls during really foul weather because people are home. That's a good tip, too.
Oh, totally.
All right.
Yeah, well, living up in the, up in the north, on the snow days was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's, you up for a little role play?
Sure.
Okay. Why don't you call me, and I am an expired.
Okay, so before we do this, I want you to have like the objections in your head. Don't tell me. Have the story in your head, so I don't purposely, so you don't like get drifted away, right? And sort of try to stick to that. You know what I mean? Like have your objections and try to stick to the story, and so that the call, we can make the call as real as possible. And I'm not saying be easy on me, but just have a real story in your head.
Okay, that's fair.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay, ring ring.
Hello.
Oh, hey, this is Jim with Keller Williams Real Estate. And the reason I was calling is I see that your home, showed up on my computer as off the market. And I was just calling to see if you still want to sell your home.
I don't think so. And you're like the fourth person that's called me this morning. I think we're going to just take a break for now. I appreciate you calling, though.
Okay, you're just going to take a break for now. I understand that. Let me ask you this. When do you plan on interviewing the right agent for the job of selling your home?
I don't even know. I mean, we're just so frustrated. So I don't even know.
You're just so frustrated. I see. Well, if you did sell the home, where are we going to go next?
Well, we were going to downsize, but, we don't really have to, and we don't have a place to go yet. So I don't know.
Okay. So you were going to downsize. You don't have a place to go. Okay. I mean, ideally, what was the time frame that you wanted to be in that smaller home?
Well, I mean, if we could make that happen this year, it would have been nice, but I just don't think the market is right for us. I just don't think there is a buyer for our house, apparently.
Okay. So you're told there's no buyer for a home. Interesting. Okay. Monica,
yeah.
What do you think stopped your home from selling?
Well, look, Jim, I'm not really sure. I just think we're not going to move forward here, so
okay.
I appreciate
You're not
the
going to
call.
move forward. No, I understand that. Let me ask you this. I mean, if you absolutely knew, Monica, that we could get your home sold in the next 3 to 4 weeks at a, listing date, at a closing date that's acceptable to you, would you relist?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I just think we're not going to be able to get what we want for it, and therefore we might not move.
Okay. But what if you could? Would you still do it?
I mean, if we could, I guess yes.
Okay. Well, how'd you happen to pick, Monica, that last agent you guys listed with?
I mean, she's one of the top agents, and she sells a lot of houses in this area.
Okay, so she was one of the top agents, and you figured that that's a good reason to hire with her. Okay.
Yep.
Now,
if she can't do it, I don't think anybody can.
Yeah, I understand. What did the agent do that you liked best?
Well, I think we just trusted her that she knows what she's doing. She's got a proven track record in our neighborhood, and I don't think it was her fault.
Okay, so you don't think it was her fault. That's perfect. Now, yeah, what do you feel she should have done?
Well, I wish she would have sold the house.
Sold the house, exactly. What would you expect, from the next agent you choose?
Well, I guess more showings. I mean, we just didn't have enough at-bats.
Okay, so you just need more opportunities, more showings. Totally, I understand that. Now, have you already chosen an agent to work with?
No. Like I said, we're just going to take a break. And I know you're great at what you do, and I get that, but I think we're just going to sit back for a minute.
No, I understand that. We would love to apply, for the job of selling your home. Are you familiar with the techniques that we use to sell homes in this market?
No.
Okay. Well, when would be a good time to show you? Can I actually come by tomorrow at 1 o'clock or Friday at 3? Which one's better for you?
Well, I'm not sure. I have to check with my husband.
Okay. Does he still want to sell the home?
Yeah, he probably wants to sell it more than I do.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, if we could show you, Monica, a different approach that would actually sell your home this time, instead of sitting on the market, would that be worth 20 minutes of your time?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. You want to do that? You want to do that tomorrow at 1 or Friday at 3?
Tomorrow at 1 would be fine.
Tomorrow at 1. And just so I'm not wasting your time before when I come out, I ask you a few questions now. Are you planning to interview more than one agent for the job of selling your home?
No, we weren't planning on interviewing anybody else because we weren't going to accept any any more presentations.
Okay, you weren't planning on interviewing anybody. Fair enough. And you said you wanted to downsize. Is that correct?
That's correct. Just a different floor plan for us, just a smaller ranch home.
Got it. And ideally, when do you want to be in that ranch home?
If we could be in before Christmas, that would be great.
Okay, so if you can be there by Christmas, that'd be excellent. All right. Now, when I see you, how much do you want to list your home for?
We would like to relist it at the same price, at the $549 price.
Okay, so $549. Excellent. You know, as a professional real estate agent, Monica, you know, I get to study homes and prices every day. You know, therefore, I'll assume you'll list with me at a price that will cause your home to sell. Correct?
Well, that'll depend.
Okay, that'll depend. So what's that price you won't go below?
I mean, we want to get close to $549.
You want to get close to $549. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So if I came over today with a bag of cash of $520, would you take it?
You'll have to ask my husband that.
Okay. And so I can prepare a net sheet to show you exactly how much money you guys are going to get when we sell your home. How much you guys owe on the property?
$500.
$500. Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have you ever thought about selling it yourself?
No.
No. Terrific. And could you please describe the home for me?
Well, it's a 2-story. It's nicely finished. We renovated the kitchen a couple of years ago. It's neutral. It's in good shape.
Nice. Looks great. Can't wait to see it. Now, what I'd like to do is send over a confirmation email. May I get your email, please?
Sure. mweekly@kw.com.
Perfect. Now, now I've only spoken to you. Will both you and your husband be there for Friday?
We'll have to check and see what his schedule is.
Okay, perfect. Now, do you have any questions before I come out?
No, I don't.
There you go. Okay. Now, just so you know, our meeting should take between 5 and 25 minutes. Is that okay?
That's all you need?
That's it.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Yep. Last question, Monica. You know, if what I say makes sense, you know, and both you and your husband feel comfortable and confident that I can sell your home, are you planning on listing your home with me when I come out on Friday?
I mean, I would imagine if you think we can get what we want for it, I wouldn't see why we wouldn't try.
Okay, fair enough. That's it. That's it. So the biggest part of going through that script is if you just get through the beginning, you got it. Keep them on the phone. Keep them on the phone, and that's a learned experience just by, you know, using tonality, repeating and affirming, and that's really a learned process. It's not it's easy. It's not simple, or simple. It's not easy. You know, it's not rocket science, but it's not simple.
Well, it seemed like you were just not willing to give up. How often do you close for the appointment without seeming pushy? I mean, where is that fine line?
You know, I don't look at myself as being pushy because I feel that, I feel that I know 95% of the people, we didn't talk about objections and conditions, but honestly, I hear a lot of times where people are like, well, we decided to keep it, we're going to do this, like you were on that call. Honestly, I know you really don't want to do that. You just got disappointed and there's no plan B as a seller. So therefore, you put your tail between the legs and come up with plan B, and we're going to keep it and stay here. So I know that you really want to sell your home, and I know that I can make a difference in getting your home sold. I really believe that. So therefore, I'm not giving up on the phone. So I'm going to keep going and going and going, and pretty much till you hang up. I'm not going to be rude. I'm going to be a gentleman about it, but you're not going to out-object me on the phone. I can stay on the phone longer than you can. I know that, So therefore, I'm not going to get off the phone. You are, if anything.
I love that. And so for those agents who are just competitive at heart, think of it as you've been outsold by the seller if you get off the phone first.
Yeah,
right?
So somebody's on the phone. Somebody's selling. Is you or is it them? Exactly.
That's right. Well, and one of the questions we got goes right in line with this. What's your best approach to those who decided to rent instead of sell? That's kind of the same thing. They're being defeated, right? Yeah,
exactly. You got to really understand the difference between a condition and objection, and don't be fooled at taking these for conditions, because most of them are not. There's a few that are, right? There's a very few that are. You know, like if they lost their job and they can't pre-qualify for the next home, that's a condition. Not much you can do to overcome that. You know, another one you hear once in a while where someone in the family got sick, you know, terminally, and they want to, you know, stay there until their wife, you know, or, you know, something happens with their family. You know, so it's got to be a strong, a very strong condition. Just keep plowing forward. You know, you can find out really. You keep going, you know, keep asking the closes. And honestly, if you said to me, you know, you had your home on the market for, what was it, $550? What was the price range there?
Yeah, $549.
Yeah. So if you kept if you turned into a, you know, kind of aggressive and a little bit of a being rude, you know, one way to find out really is this: if you really wanted to rent or something. I mean, look at Monica. If you can get $550, you $575. Would you still sell the home?
Right. Yeah. Sure.
Okay, great. And then get right back to the script. So I brought you back. You see what I'm saying? So it's a price thing. Most of the time it's a price thing.
Got it.
I don't get it. Yeah, I wouldn't get into handling the objection why it's a bad idea to rent. That you do that at the listing, you know, at the listing table if you need to, if it does come up, right? But you don't want to win the objection and lose getting the appointment. The goal here is to get the appointment, not to win the script or win the objections, you know?
Sure, that makes sense. So I noticed you were asking or repeating my answers every time. Is that part of building rapport, or are you just acknowledging the answer? What's going on there?
Yeah, I think the person who's building rapport, the person who's most successful at building rapport and asking question-based, you know, and you're asking questions that are going to benefit them, not you. You know what I mean? It's not going to benefit. None of these questions really benefit me. You know, it's nothing ego. So I'm doing it to build rapport. The other thing I would do is try to, I know everyone's kind of pressed for time, so I was talking a little faster, but in a real one, I would kind of slow it down a little bit because you were a little slower, but mirror and match their pace a little bit as much as you can. So, yeah, building rapport. Now, the other thing is there's a lot of clues in here so that when you're going on an appointment, you're going to use, you know. The best one I like on the pre-qual is, would you describe your home for me? Now, if you really listen, don't say briefly or quickly. Just say, would you please describe your home for me? A lot of times the way they answer that question will give you an idea of what their personality style is. So now you can adapt your listing presentation so that you are now building rapport. It's much easier, or it's very easy to build rapport in person because you have all the senses. Because communication is like, I've heard 80% nonverbal. So think about it. I'm on the phone. So there's a 20 to 80% disadvantage to me, you see? So that's why you got to have extreme tonality. My door's closed. If you were in my office right now, you'd be like, shh, be quiet when I was role-playing. Because over the phone, you're losing a lot of these senses. I was like really loud on the phone, you know? So, yeah, building rapport is key.
So if I had answered that question, it's 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, it's 2,500 square feet, and it's 2 stories. You'd be dealing with me differently than if I had said, oh my gosh, it's a lovely red brick home with yellow walls and lovely kitchen and that kind of an answer.
Yeah, we had nice family reunions here, and birthday parties were awesome, and yeah, or you get somebody who's a high D, it's like, you have the MLS, don't you?
Right. That's true.
So, yeah, look at the data sheet. All right, he's a high D, so now you know how to prepare, you see? So now, so now when you get into the, you know, so now talk about building confidence, you have all the ammunition. You really do. You have all of the ammunition to win the listing. You really do. And you know that if you listen carefully, you probably have a pretty good idea of what their personality style is.
Awesome. Okay, I've got 3 questions. Let's try to get these answered. And then the 4th question is about, somebody's asking about your 6-day training program, so I want to make sure to give you a second just to chat about that.
Sure, no
problem. But one question is, in our market, we have a lot more FSBOs, more than expireds, which is going on everywhere, I imagine. And can you guide me on what I can do to increase the number of appointments I can get? I'm wondering if you're talking about of expireds or of FSBOs. If you want to comment on that.
So what was it? The question that had more expireds than FSBOs? Is that what you come out saying?
They have more FSBOs than expireds in their market.
More FSBOs. Okay. Well, so there's always the the market's always good, right? I mean, because if the market is slow, it's still good, and the market's fast, it's good. So you just have to know, you got to know your numbers first of all, so you know what your goals are, and don't get disappointed. That's where I'm going with this. So if you're only setting 4 appointments and you don't think that's a lot, then, if I went into a hot smoking, it's going to be a lot easier for me to set appointments in a market where there's 12-month supply of homes versus a 2-month supply. Okay, so don't get disappointed if you're not, and if there's a bunch of FSBOs and hardly any expireds, they're probably selling pretty fast. So don't get disappointed. Number one, that's a big one, and you got the FSBOs. Go after some old. You got the expireds. Go after some old expireds. There's more opportunity with expireds than with for sale by owners, and the reason I say that is that for sale by owners, more of a buyer call. It's more of a buyer call, and they give false signals.
Okay.
It's so easy to get into a door of a FSBO. So if you're not pre-qualifying them like through the grinder, you're doing yourself a disservice because they're willing to let anybody come to their home because they think you have a buyer. Okay. So you really got, if you're going to go in the home, make sure they know it is a listing appointment. So very simply, one thing I would say is go download the Mike Ferry for sale by owner script, and do not go on that appointment without pre-qualifying them 100%. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed. And the other thing, too, with a for sale by owner, why I say it's more like a buyer call, is that it's a relationship. You don't typically get the appointment because if somebody decided to sell their home today and they just stuck a sign in the ground today, you're probably not going to get that listing appointment. I don't care how good you are because they still think they can sell it on their own, right? So, therefore, you have to find out, there's a fine line. When do they give up? It's possible, between week 3 and week 6, week 7, somewhere in there, and you may not know when they became a FSBO, you see. So you don't know how old that lead is. So that's where it's a little tougher for me, and I concentrate, I more concentrate on the expireds and old expireds. But if you wanted to do the FSBOs, that's how I would attack them.
Okay, I think that is amazing advice, and I hope everyone really heard that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've gone on a listing appointment to a FSBO when I did even pre-qualify them, and they still are confused. I mean, you really have to grind through that. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, one way to find out really is, that last question I asked you. I mean, don't just ask that one question because they're always going to say no to that. And that question was, if what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident, that question. And I'm looking for anything but a no on that, right? And or at least I know I have a fighting chance. So they know that you're coming there to list their home. Okay, so show up prepared to list their home. Bring a lockbox, bring a camera. So when they show, like, oh my God, what's you got a lockbox and camera for? You know what I mean? So they're like, oh, so those are closes, so that when you show up at the door, like, oh, he's got a lockbox. What the heck's that for? So there's no misunderstanding why I'm here. There's no misunderstanding why I'm here.
It's perfect. And also, I think my Ferry script has, can you make an extra key for me, as well? I believe that question.
Exactly.
Okay, somebody was asking about the pre-qualification questions, which is kind of what we just went through, but I'm wondering if they're asking specifically where you're finding that. If you're referencing the Mike Ferry scripts, right? And those are all online, I think.
They're free and they're online. MFO or MikeFerry.com is free scripts. It's phenomenal, really, seriously.
So, what's a good number of appointments for a new agent in a month?
Yeah. Okay. So I would want to know first of all, what is the market like? How many months supply what's the market like? So number one, and then how many months supply it is? How many expires are you getting in a week's time? I'd need to know that. So,
okay. Let's say it's pretty low because that I think is what's going on a lot.
What's that?
So let's say it's pretty low. If the number is lower than let's say on any given day we're only seeing, 5 or 10 of them.
Okay, well, that's quite a bit, actually. I can tell you that I can give you an example of a market that I was calling in, right, to where it would have, 8, 9, 10 months supply, definitely a buyer's market, where there's 2 or 3 a day. 2 or 3 a day. And that doesn't sound like a lot. But you fast forward, I mean, it's a cumulative effect. They add up pretty good, I think I can get people on the phone, right, to where every, for sure, less than 20 contacts. For less than 20 contacts to get an appointment. Okay. Now, and my number was a lot less than that. But so I'm saying that's a conservative number. So you got to make 20 contacts, you're going to get an appointment. And then for every 10 appointments you go on, you're going to get 8 of them. And for every those 8 listings, 65% of them are going to sell. So then you can just reverse. You know, you can figure out exactly what you need to do. You know, just with those numbers there. So, but go through old expireds. There's tons of old expireds.
Okay, and so how do you approach those? What's the script? It must be a little bit different than a brand new expired. Is that correct?
Sure. Yep. The only difference is, I used the word a while ago. I see. Okay. And so this is the first time, I have no idea where this came from, but the first time I role played with somebody and I actually used my name. I never used my name, and I don't know why I did. But and I'm going to tell you why. Because if you're a little nervous, here's another tip. If you're a little nervous on making the call, there's some advantage to being a little anonymous, okay? So if you don't use your name, it's not necessarily, you know, they can find you if they really wanted to, but if you don't use your name and just say, hey, I'm with ABC Company, it's not really Jim anymore, it's ABC Company. So it makes it a little easier to make those calls if you're a little nervous on the phone. And the way I kind of like got that engraved in my head and figured it out is if you were to call, if somebody was a little nervous about making phone calls, and if I got them on a 3-way conversation or a 3-way call, conference call, and asked them to make calls to my lead, and they saw my caller ID, they'd be more apt to making those calls because it'd be easy, right? It's not them anymore. It's my leads that are getting beat up, right?
That's interesting. I like that. All right, cool. Let's see. Why don't you talk a little bit, I'm getting a couple questions on your 6-day training program. Talk a little bit about just what that is and how people can get involved.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to make this too much of a sales call, really. I don't, but I'll just tell you basically, as you asked me, is that if anybody wants more information, talk about details, definitely call me, 239-860-6005. But basically, one thing I discovered training, you know, a bunch of ISAs, that I have over the past is that there's no fluff. Get right to it, okay? So what I figured out is that I can get somebody up to speed, right? And when I call up to speed, I would say there would be a C student, okay? A C student, which is darn good. You'll make a lot of money as a C student. And I say a C student because I can get them to a C student in less than 2 weeks. And I don't care if you made a phone call before, ever. So what that basically is that it's 6 one-hour calls, right, going through the basics. There's no cutting corners. It's basically right from the beginning to the very end. I don't care if you've been in business for 2 minutes or 20 years. The process is the same for everybody. And basically 2 people on a call, myself, and we go for 5 days straight for an hour. Take a week off. You implement a lot of everything that we've worked on, and then we have another call in 2 weeks. And if somebody's a really good student and really puts their heart into this, they won't have to do anything else to get listings. And I'm not joking. There's no mailers. I don't have a postcard. I don't have a mailer. I don't have a color brochure, and I'm not joking yet. Because there's just so much opportunity here, and it becomes easy because there's no competition. There's no competition, and it's an active way to get business today, something that you could really sink your teeth in. So when I was doing this for every 7 contacts, I knew I was getting an appointment. Every 7 contacts. That's all I had to do. 7 contacts, I got an appointment, like clockwork. And that's going on 150, 175 appointments a year. So that's a real number, and that can be duplicated. And I'm telling you that I can shorten the learning curve to what I just told you in that short period of time. I can't teach you everything because it's just going to take some time. But you'll go from that C student to the B student just by doing it after we go through the training.
Awesome. So the number, again, just because somebody asked, it's 239-860-6005.
You got it.
All right,
and
cool.
Listen, guys, you can text me, call me if you have any questions after this. I'm not, it's not like I got to charge you for it. So seriously.
Well, and it's amazing, your 7-to-1 ratio. That's very, very good. And so I can imagine learning from somebody that has that ratio. Even if you're I remember somebody in my market center saying, even if I'm 30-1, at least I know my number and I know how many people I have to talk to. When I can work on getting better, but at least you know the number.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because you don't have to be. Because here's the thing, it's okay if you want to be. You're going to get good just through raw practice and just pushing forward. But when I started, it was probably, who knows, 50, 60, but it didn't matter. So I just got to make more calls. You're not going. You don't have appointments anyhow. You don't have appointments anyhow. So what else are you going to do? You know what I mean? Put the shorts on, grab a glass of wine, and let the dialer rip. Make some calls.
Do you ever get your feelings hurt by any of these people that are just rude?
I used to, but now I just laugh. I wouldn't say my feelings would hurt. It would no, I wouldn't get my feelings hurt because I have pretty thick skin, but it would bother me. Yeah, I'm human, so it would bother me, but I brushed it off. It's not a big deal. They don't even know me. I didn't even give them my name. That's why I get it. So how can they be angry at me? I didn't even give them my name. You see what I'm saying? They have no idea who I am, I mean, they know I'm a realtor and they know what company I am, but how could they get angry? Because I don't take it personal. And the other thing too is they're upset. Their house didn't sell, and you're calling them. So of course they're gonna be upset.
Of course.
Get over it.
That's great. All right. One last question. What do you find most real estate prospectors prospect expireds over FSBOs? I'm guessing you'd say those that are more serious are prospecting expireds.
Ask the question again, please.
Do you find that most real estate prospectors are prospecting expireds over FSBOs?
Yeah, I don't even dig into the FSBO script. I mean, I do, because honestly, once you learn the skill set on how to use a script, it doesn't matter what script. And, I have not made a lot of FSBO calls because I guess they're easier calls. So I think if you're a little timid or nervous or, something like that, you'd probably end up making the for sale by owner calls. But the expired calls, listen, it's not easy, right? So therefore, there's going to be less competition. So there's more opportunity for me. So I see more opportunity with expires, a lot more.
They have their hands up a little higher than anybody else, right? And in need of help.
They sure do.
The FSBOs are sort of just dip their toe in the water, like, maybe. But, yeah.
And again, all you got to do is just articulate that you are different. They've already decided to hire a realtor. I mean, listen, this is the confidence thing, right? So today I had a coaching call. We talked about, they decided they want to keep it, right? The really, really good ISA says to me, the person said that they wanted to keep their home because they want to get their kid through 2 more years of school. I'm thinking, and he got off the phone. I'm like, wait a minute, why'd you get off the phone? He said, that was a condition. I couldn't overcome it. They want to stay there for 2 more years. I'm like, wait a second. The house expired yesterday or last night.
Why was it?
The sign is probably still in the ground, and the lockbox is on the door. What do you mean they don't want to sell it? That's crazy. Someone told me that, you don't put a dress on if you're not getting married. I always think of that when I hear that objection. That's what comes to my mind. You're like, wait a minute, you don't put a sign in your yard in a lockbox if you're not going to sell your home. So don't let that, just plow forward. But the good thing is, I listen to calls all day long of really good prospectors, and 8 out of 10 will say, okay, sorry to bother you. See you later. Have a great day. Or do you think I can call you in 6 months? I hear that all the time. So that's your competition, guys. So let your dialer roll. I guarantee if you got on the script and just read that Mike Ferry script and did that for 4 hours tomorrow, you'll have an appointment. I swear. I know you will. If you don't, call me, and I will give you some tips. I won't charge you a nickel. But you've got to make those phone calls for that time.
You're awesome, Jim. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, no, it's just fun. Thank you.
Advice. That was really great. I hope you guys got a lot out of it. I sure did. And again, Jim, thank you very much. And I hope you guys all have a great day.
See ya. Bye-bye.
All right. See everybody. Bye.